Hello and welcome to The Arise interview, 60 glorious minutes of multifaceted discussion where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and we feature the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Coming up in the next hour, tributes are pouring in from around the world for the Nigerian singer, songwriter and entertainer Kehinde Lijadu, who died on Saturday in New York at the age of 71 after battling the effects of a severe stroke. She was one half of the famous and brilliant Lijadu Sisters, identical twins who made huge waves in the 1970s with a string of top 10 songs, including their best-known smash hit single Danger, which soared into the top charts across Africa. We'll examine the towering legacy of the Lijadu Sisters and remember the one who is no more in a moment. Now, at one stage in the 1970s and into the 1980s, the Lijadu Sisters were household names in Nigeria and across West Africa. Quite simply, they dominated the regional music scene here. With their unique combination of Afrobeat, reggae, disco and Memphis soul, and helped by their famous cousin Fela Kuti, the Lijadu Sisters achieved mammoth success in Nigeria and West Africa and gained moderate popularity and influence in the UK and other parts of Europe. They released a number of albums, including Horizon Unlimited, Danger, Africa, and Sunshine, among others, with Danger emerging as the most popular and arguably their biggest hit. Well, in a moment, we'll join the many Nigerians across the world who are mourning the passing of Kehinde Lijadu. We'll be on the line to New York to speak with her sister and the other half of the Lijadu Sisters, Taiwo. But first, here's a clip of the identical twins talking a little bit about themselves.
My name is Taiwo, and this is my twin sister, Kehinde. Together, we are known and called the Lijadu Sisters. Together, well, unprofessionally, 53 years from age 10, and professionally since 1968.
That's 43 years ago.
We sing
together.
We sing whether we have performances, live performances, or we have radio. Otherwise, we sing together every day. It's a natural thing.
If I'm in the kitchen singing a song and I'm walking towards the bathroom, I hear her singing exactly the same thing. And she starts telling me exactly what's been on my list, what's been on my mind, and I say, get it live now. Please, Taiwo, please, Taiwo, get it live.
Well, you're my life.
I know.
We bring each other balance.
And our children bring us balance.
And they bring
all
us
of them.
Joy. Before we moved in here, we have always had our home look like this. We're used to living like this with our mom. There is a song we wrote for her years ago. There are songs we had written for her. Reincarnation. That is on Sunshine. It says, the sun will shine on me someday. The clouds will break tomorrow. I've put a step forward. No more fears, no more tears. Oh, clap your hands, stamp your feet. Clap your hands, brother, stamp your feet. Be happy, for the Lord is here, here to shine the sun on us. Hallelujah, sunshine. And you will see Mr. Sunshine. Mr. Sunshine,
Have you seen Mr.
sir?
Sunshine over there? You see him? That's Mr. Sunshine.
You see Mr. Sunshine?
Do you see him now? Our late grandmother, Petana, she used to play the
piano. Our
dad
mom played the mouth organ. Our dad played the piano. You know, we come from a musical background.
They sing,
and they are
they
poets.
sang in church. So when you grow up in that kind of environment, is bound to rub off on you.
Just being twins, being identical twins, and being pranksters. Oh, my. People loved us. Whatever we do as singers, we have to think of what we will say that will comfort people's hearts, that will gladden people's hearts,
And give hope.
that will make people laugh. I saw a child today, he was dying on the streets. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy.
The beautiful Lijadu Sisters there, and we will hear a lot more of their music, well-produced music later in the program. But on the line from New York is the other half of the Lijadu Sisters, Taiwo, who has kindly agreed to speak to us as we pay tribute to her sister, Kehinde. Taiwo, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. I hope you can hear me there.
Yes, I can hear you. How is everybody?
Yeah, can you hear me there?
Yes, I can hear you, but how is everybody there?
Very well, but we're much more interested in how you are. First of all, our deepest condolences on the passing of your lovely sister, Kehinde. Obviously a very sad period for you, but also for the many, many fans of the Lijadu Sisters in Nigeria and across the world, including myself. Tell us how it came to this.
I didn't hear that well.
I said our condolences to you on the passage of your lovely sister, Kehinde. A lot of people, you know, obviously a very sad period for you, but also for the many, many fans that you and your sister had across Nigeria and across many parts of the world. Tell us how it came to this.
Well, to be quite candid, this is life. It's shocking. She was ill. We tried everything that we could to prevent this, but it still happened. And there was nothing I could do about it. The most important thing that happened for me with this was that I had to leave home to go and get something for her. And when I came back home, she was slumped in the bed in a way that told me that she might have gone. So I went close to her, I held her, and she was still very, very warm. And I held her in my arms. I spoke to her. I sang to her. I sang the praises of our family, maternal and paternal, what we call Oriki. Oriki are the praise names of your forefathers and foremothers, which identifies what they did in the past, who they were, and the culture they followed, and the kinds of things that were expected of them. I let her know the child of whom she was. Do not forget whom you were. Come back to me. Stay with me. She was warm. I held her in my arms. I kissed her. I knelt down in front of her and begged her, please, Kehinde, don't.
I know this is obviously a very emotional time for you, and we appreciate your taking the time to share these very, very intimate moments, last moments with your sister with us. And of course, tributes have been pouring in. You know, I understand a lot of it has gone viral on social media. Is that some consolation that so many remember you and your sister from all those years ago?
Yes, there is a lot of consolation. Of course, if we were not singing, We were on the internet, on Facebook, contributing to society as our duty. We never left. So our people stayed with us and are still staying with us, and I do not intend to close that door, because my sister said, don't close that door. It's meant to open for life. It's a legacy that should not be forgotten. We had planned to release an album in March of next year, or at best in July of next year. We didn't know this would happen, but it has happened. But by the special grace of Olodumare, God, things will continue to be the way they are, because I believe that Kehinde is not gone. She is an important icon in the lives of everybody that we knew and we don't know. She is the pillar that holds the fort in the home, won't let anything fall. And now she is turned herself into double pleasure instead of double trouble that dubbed one album. She has turned double pleasure, because she is now a seed within me, growing and letting me know I will never fall. And because all of you are supporting us like this, we will never fall. We are standing together because the world is here standing with me. They are standing with Kehinde. We both appreciate this. I was going to tell you, I tried to tell you before I felt sad, that I begged my sister not to go, but if she had to go, she should just leave me with happiness. What she left me with was that she remained warm for me to come and hold her, feel her for the last time, tell her how I felt, and I felt her right back. 10 minutes later, she was completely gone.
Well, that is a lovely,
was
lovely
that our
story to share with us, Taiwo. And I would ask you, implore you to stay with us, because we want to talk to you some more. We've got to take a short break. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our tribute to Kehinde Lijadu, the other half of the famous identical twins and singing duo, the Lijadu Sisters, who has died aged 71. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Anyagolu. The Lijadu Sisters, Kehinde and Taiwo, were the undoubted musical success story of the 70s, more successful than any other girl group from the West African region, and more so because they were two dashingly attractive identical twins. Well, as you may have heard, Kehinde Lijadu died in New York at the weekend after suffering a severe stroke. Since then, tributes have been pouring in from around the world, celebrating the musical brilliance of the singing duo. We at Arise News are joining the many in remembrance. In a moment, we'll be back on the line to New York, and we'll also be live in Lagos and Abuja to speak to those who knew the twins in their heyday. But first, here's a rare video of the Lijadu Sisters recording one of their hit songs at the Decca Studios in Lagos in the 1970s.
Inside Decca's recording studio. The pressures of trying to record a whole album in too short a time, plus the lack of basic facilities like air conditioning, do not make for a conducive atmosphere for creative work. They listen back to their recording.
Absolutely fabulous music there. And still with me on the line from New York is the other half of the Lijadu Sisters, Taiwo, who has kindly agreed to speak to us as we pay tribute to her sister Kehinde. Thank you very much indeed, Taiwo, for staying with us. Take us back to the years. We're watching a video from the 70s there. I think it was from a documentary that was made, I think, by Channel 4 television in the UK. Take us back to those years when both of you were sort of growing up. Beyond the fact that you were identical twins, you were said to be exceptionally close. Tell us how close.
Very close. As close as God wanted us to be. As close as God wanted us to be. That's how it is. That was 1989. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, absolutely. I actually, it's very interesting, Taiwo, but I remember watching that particular film, that particular video clip in the UK many years, I think around that same period, subsequently after that. But I think a lot of people are very, because you seem to have grown up, from what I'm reading, in a very happy home, because your song Reincarnation suggested that if reincarnation is a reality, that you would like to come back to the home that you grew up in.
Yes. By the way, I made a mistake. That was 1979, not 1979. The child that you saw there in the video was a year old, or almost a year old. She's now 41 years old now. The closeness was enhanced by our late mom, Mrs. Efuyemi Lijadu, whom we adore so much because of her personality, her resilience, her love for people, and her love for nature, respect for us as her children, and respect for other human beings. Tolerance was her creed. Love and tolerance was her creed. And she said, strive hard to be who you are. Do not let anybody dissuade you from your path. Just do your best and leave the rest for God to hold on to. And that's how we are. Reincarnation is a reinforcement of the belief we had in our mom, and she instilled the love of God in us.
And I think, Taiwo, for your many fans around the world, since we're talking to you now in remembrance primarily of your sister, but also of the towering legacy that the Lijadu Sisters left and are still leaving behind, I think a lot of people would be curious to know how you got into the music business.
Easy. Our mom played the mouth organ. Our dad played the piano. Our late grandmother also played piano. And also because we're also related to the Soyinka's, cousin Wole Soyinka's mom was also a musician. So we have music playing all around in the family. And of course, choirs in the church and all of that. But the most important thing that we have to hold on to was that we went to watch a movie in 1958, and my sister was inspired by the children. I have forgotten the name of that movie now. There were children singing. She was inspired by it. So when we got back home, in the middle of the night, she got one of her school exercise books and was writing a song on it. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, and so are millions of people around the world.
Okay, so Mom decided there and then she would buy a lot of exercise books for us for singing to write songs on, not your exercise books. She came back home with about 24 LPs of international artists and Nigerian artists. She said, listen to all of this. Pick out songs that you want to sing. One of the albums was one of Mama Africa, Maria Makeba. She said, now, girls, I know you don't understand South African language. Listen to how she pronounces every word and equate it to any Yoruba words that will sound exactly phonetically with those words, and go sing those songs the way they are. She encouraged us. She built us costumes with machine and hand sewn. Hand sewn clothes were very perfect. And she took materials from those clothes to make handbags and shoes to match. She was a gas. Mom was a gas.
And that is that's an absolutely brilliant story there. I mean, such a critical part of singing, phrasing, which she obviously instinctually knew about and taught you about, and that all those years ago. And of course, at one point, after you became successful, I think the New York Times newspaper in America described you as the West African version of the famous Pointer Sisters. Was that a fair comparison?
Yeah. The thing is, the togetherness was very good. It was very good, and our mom was very strict with us. Even though we were famous, she could still spank us. I remember that she still spanked me at age 40. My first son, Ayodeji, did something I didn't like. Of course, I had been telling him, don't do that again, don't do that again. And the third time he did it, I was very, very angry, and I spanked him too hard. Mom just dragged me into the room and, she spanked me. She said, I didn't spank you like that. Don't do that ever again. Again, I was 40 years old.
And of course, Fela Kuti, I understand, is also a cousin of yours, in addition to being related to the Soyinka family.
We're all related through our paternal grandmother.
Considerable pedigree you've got there. And of course, you performed also on the international stage with the likes of the late Ginger Baker. And we did a big tribute to him here just a few weeks ago. You were in Munich with him and traveled, I think, other parts of Europe and America An incredible sort of musical life you've had.
Yes, we have had incredible musical life together, done everything together, and God willing, the legacy will continue, will never stop.
Yes, I'm absolutely certain, hopeful, confident that it will remain. Taiwo Lijadu, one half of the Lijadu Sisters, talking to me there from New York. I want to thank you very much indeed. And once again, our deepest condolences on the passing of your sister, Kehinde Lijadu. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our tribute to Kehinde Lijadu, the other half of the famous identical twins and singing duo, the Lijadu Sisters, who has died aged 71. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Today on the program, we are paying special tribute to Kehinde Lijadu, one half of the hugely talented Lijadu Sisters, who died in New York at the weekend, aged 71, after suffering a severe stroke. The Lijadu Sisters took the Nigerian music scene by storm in the 1970s and early 80s, releasing hit after hit and performing alongside both local and international stars, including Sunny Ade, Jimmy Solanke, T-Mac, and Fela Kuti, and of course the globally successful Ginger Baker. But beyond being a great singing duo, the identical twins were also very progressive in their ideas and very feminist in their politics. Take a listen to the sisters talking about their experiences in the early days of their foray into the Nigerian entertainment scene.
By contrast, the Lijadu Sisters are part of a new generation of Nigerian recording artists with a different kind of song. The Lijadu twins are working out a number for a new album with the help of their Decca producer, Odeon. They aim to make their songs reflect the woman's place in society. They sing in English instead of tribal dialects so as to reach the widest possible audience at home and hopefully one day overseas. The Lijadu Sisters have managed to combine their professional and domestic lives, but it hasn't been easy.
In the past, our men believed that the wife should stick to the kitchen and bring kids into the world, that's all.
Not now.
I said in the past.
Oh, yeah, in the past.
It's true. But now, women are beginning to tell their men they no longer want to stick at home and live a dull life, empty one, you know. Nothing, nobody to communicate with.
Women have been playing important roles in the world of politics in
music, in the hospitals, in every aspect of life, you find women. And they're really educated. When I talk about education, they've gone and got education, you know, where, it's really...
And that's the Lijadu Sisters there. Of course, they were the forerunners in many ways of a modern feminism in Nigeria. Well, to help us reflect on the extraordinary career of the Lijadu Sisters and the sad death of one of the twins, Kehinde, I'm joined now from our Lagos studios by the musician and television producer Gboyega Adelaja, who knew them quite well, and here in Abuja by the 1970s music impresario and entertainment journalist Tony Amadi. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us. And I'll come straight to you, Gboyega Adelaja, there in Lagos. Thank you for being patient with us, and I'm sure you heard Taiwo, you know the family quite well, talking to us from New York. A great privilege to have spoken to her. Just tell us how you remember the Lijadu Sisters.
Thank you very much, Charles. First, I want to commiserate with the Lijadu Sisters, with Taiwo, after Kehinde's death, and then we've come a long way. Before they moved to New York, you know, in the 70s, late 70s, we had cause to do some recordings together in Lagos at the Adelaja Studios. And Taiwo and Kehinde has always been a unique, inseparable twins, you know, they're talented with so much gift of music and voice. And when we heard a couple of days ago that Kehinde had passed on, you know, it was a real shock. It was a real shock to some of us who were close, who our paths crossed sometimes, you know. And, my path crossed that of the Lijadu Sisters through B.D. Wright, who was working very closely with them from 1976 up to 79. I think he was trying to produce 4 records. He did produce 4 records, albums with the Lijadu Sisters. And those were the albums that really launched the Lijadu Sisters to the international market, and at the home also made them so popular. I remember the track Yamaige, which we recorded at Adelaja Studios. I can't remember the year exactly now, but it was after I returned from the US for the Festac in 1977. It must have been in 1978 or 1979. And we had to rehearse, and the Lijadu Sisters were in Ibadan. They used to live in Ibadan, off the Ring Road. They had a flat, they rented a flat, and there was this company, Orange Amplifiers. I think they were just coming into Nigeria now. And then they were just coming to Nigeria then, because most of the top artists were using Orange equipment for their sound reinforcement. And the Lijadu Sisters were no exception, because I remembered in their flat, there were a series of Orange PA systems and everything. Then we used to rehearse there until we went to the studios to record that very famous Yamaige. Those are the kind of, although we were younger in those days, and in actual fact, the Lijadu Sisters are 4 years older than me. But then when we were working in the 70s before I got married, you know, we were attracted to each other naturally, because they were, as an artist, you know, the age, I wasn't looking at the fact that Kehinde was older than me or Taiwo. We just rolled as one, you know, because music was the thing that brought us together. So I cannot help but feel very sad when I heard about Kehinde's demise. And I just want to ask Taiwo to be strong. You know, she's always been a very strong woman. You know, Kehinde has also always been like they've all both been spokesperson, I would say, of their brand. You know, but you know, it's a great loss. They were inseparable. The Lijadu Sisters, they were inseparable. They were being guided by one spirit. So I only pray that Taiwo will have the fortitude to bear the loss, because they were very, very close. You know. Over to you, Charles.
That's a very touching tribute from you there, and also some revelations there that you were obviously very close to them, and that's the sort of thing that I'm sure a lot of people want to hear and want to share. But just stay with us there, Gboyega. Let me talk to Tony Amadi here, who was, of course, an entertainment journalist, a musical impresario in the 1970s. How big were the Lijadu Sisters in the success rankings of those days in the 1970s?
Charles, they were essentially the only thing happening as far as female music was concerned. And, you know, they filled a big gap. there was this guy called Adelaja who was running the Clusters. Clusters was the biggest rock band in Lagos at the time, and gave the Lijadus a platform to also do their thing. And they came as guests in big shows, and they were always given time to do their thing. And both of them were really great. Incidentally, I spoke to two of them when we were doing the Ginger tribute. I spoke to them, and they were very happy. You know, after Kehinde was speaking all the time in Igbo, because she loved speaking languages. Then she handed me to the sister, who was now late, and we talked and talked and talked through the night, you know, on the phone. And that was really great. And, you know, when you broke the news to me yesterday or 2 days ago, I was surprised. I had no idea, because I was out of town, and I didn't know that we were going to start another tribute for another major musical force in Nigeria. The Lijadu Sisters, it's the end of half an era. Because for now, she is gone. But I tell you something, Taiwo is a strong girl, a strong lady. We're about the same age. She's 71, going to 72. I'm the same. And that era was really studied. Adelaja provided the platform, based in Yaba, and these girls were always around practicing singing. And Lagos was really great in those days.
And it really is quite extraordinary. I mean, listening to you talk, I imagine what that scene must have been like at that point in history, to be someone who's actually a grown-up and being able to go to nightclubs and see them perform and so on. Because just watching their videos, I mean, they sound absolutely electric. Let me bring Gboyega Adelaja in from Lagos there. The New York Times, I mentioned that to Taiwo, described their music as a West African parallel to the Pointer Sisters, and another music critic thought that their music was riveting. Do you agree with that description?
Well, you know, the Lijadu Sisters, we are very current, you know, with the situation. Whenever they wanted to write a song, I think it's always a reflection of what was happening around them. Very philosophical arrangement. And, well, I think it's because of Kehinde's spinal injury, we will have been able to hear in 1996, you know, otherwise we will have been able to hear a lot more from the Lijadu Sisters, especially as they choose to have New York as their base, because, you know, the tempo of music production in New York is, you know, one of the highest in the world. So they had plans to, you can hear Taiwo saying that earlier on, that they had plans to release an album for March or May next year. And I'm sure that is still going to come. But I think the Taiwo and the Lijadu Sisters of Nigeria, of Africa, you know, they are more than just to be described like the Pointer Sisters, you know. I think they are even much more deeper than the Pointer Sisters, in the sense that they have also embraced culture. You can see from the way they used to dress, and of course later in their lives they become much deeper into spiritual things, and think they was practicing astrology in the real sense, and they learn much more about the Yoruba culture too. So they were much more than that. They were going to graduate into a brand that was going to be much bigger than what they were, you know, so to speak. But I'm sure, Taiwo, the strong lady.
There. We've got to take a short break. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our tribute to Kehinde Lijadu, the other half of the famous identical twins and singing duo, the Lijadu Sisters, who has died aged 71. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Aniagoluna. If you've just joined us, we are doing a retrospective on the musical career of the singing identical twins known famously as the Lijadu Sisters. They grew up in the southwestern Nigerian city of Ibadan, and in the 1970s and early 1980s, after their musical career took off, they became hugely popular in Nigeria and across West Africa, featuring regularly on radio and television at the time. They eventually relocated to the US in the mid-80s and disappeared almost entirely from public view. They released 6 albums in total, with the most popular being Danger and Double Trouble. Before we continue our discussion about them, let's listen in to 2 of their hit singles, Danger and Orere El Jiben. And entertainment journalist Tony Amadi. Let's just go back to you there, Gboyega, because unfortunately we had to interrupt you. We had to take a break just a few minutes ago. But you were talking, you were paying great tribute to the sisters, and I'm just wondering, you know, how big a loss the passing of Kehinde is, not just to Taiwo, her obviously surviving identical twin, but to the music industry as a whole.
Wow, Charles, that is a colossal loss, you know, and it cannot be filled, you know, but like we all say, God giveth, God taketh. But the thing is, the work that has to be done in the future that Kehinde will have been part of, the assignment should not be jettisoned, you know, because, and I'm sure Taiwo is equal to the task. But to the music world, it's a colossal loss, you know, called loss. You know, we probably, I say that because we have not been hearing much from the Lijadu Sisters in the last 10, 12 years. I told you, because of the accident that Kehinde had. But they had something for the future. And how this will affect that thing is, I don't know. I don't have the capacity to make that prediction.
And let me bring Tony Amadi
Charles.
in. Obviously, Gboyega knew them personally. Did you also know them personally? And if so, how did you first encounter them?
I think it was, again, in Yaba, Kakadu or Afro Sport, whichever name you want to call it.
Those were nightclubs.
Yes,
then.
nightclubs, yes.
Right.
And we were looking for female artists because we felt It can't be all men, men, men. And suddenly they appeared. And it was great because these girls, they were brought up by clusters, they were given platform. Then Hikers, Eddie Roberts, late Eddie Roberts was the manager of Hikers. He took them on a long tour of Nigeria with his band, which was one of the best soul groups in those days. And of course, T-Mac, who had called them the Afro Collection. T-Mac inherited the clusters, changed the name to Afro Collection, and the Floatists, which is a great one, made also a platform for them, and they did a lot of good things in the Lagos scene. And finally, they hit the international stage, Munich with Ginger Baker, and from there they did an American tour, came back and returned to the US. No, they were never heard of again. But these were the girls that paid the dues for all the musicians, all the female musicians. There probably wouldn't have been Tiwa Savage if there was no Lijadu Sisters, and so many other great acts like this. I'm sure they will be very happy that they left behind people who are still carrying on for the women's side of entertainment. And of course, the other day we were told that Tiwa Savage is the biggest thing in the female singing sensation, which she is. And the Lijadu Sisters will never be forgotten in the annals of Nigerian entertainment.
It's a very important history lesson you gave there, and the fact that it's always important to look back in order to look forward. And let me bring Gboyega Adelaja in, because we heard, I've read in many places that they were quite liberated women, Taiwo and Kehinde there, which I suspect rubbed some sort of conservatives up the wrong way in the 1970s, but they were clearly undaunted by that and were very outspoken in their support of women's liberation.
I think that was something they picked up from Mama Africa, from Miriam Makeba, because you can hear Taiwo that when she told us that one of the references was Mama Africa, Miriam Makeba, and you know how very passionate Miriam was to the struggle of women in Africa. So I think they inherited that from Miriam Makeba. And we also want to thank so many people who have also made their career very, very positively effective, like T-Mac, like Tony said. In those days, T-Mac and the chap that was managing the Clusters International, the Femi, I've forgotten the last name now, the brothers, they were also a set of brothers, Clusters International. And Mr. Odioni Roje, T-Mac, and B.D. Wright. B.D. Wright really did a lot with the Lijadu Sisters because he transformed their music. He took it from where it was to another level. And that was since then, when B.D. Wright was working with Lijadu Sisters, that was the time that their music became very popular. Even before Ginger Baker had, a connection with them. So, but we must thank all these people who have made it possible for the Lijadu Sisters to become who they have become today. And of course, to Kehinde that has departed, we just say, we'll meet her in the next world. It's just a matter of time. Death is it's inevitable. Somebody who's gone today, loved ones who are gone today, they're just going to prepare a place, like it's stated in the Bible. So, Charles, let's be merry.
Well, that's a very nice way to say it, but as you pay tribute to her, let's not also forget to pay tribute to people like yourself who achieved a lot in the music industry. You performed, I never forget that album cover of Hugh Masekela with you sitting as one of the members of the band, and of course you performed. I watched you perform in London many, many times at the South Bank and other places, and you toured America with the best of them. So we're very grateful indeed to you for sharing these very special moments and taking the time to come into our studios in Lagos and talk to us. And just before we go, Tony Amadi, of course, another very accomplished music journalist in the 70s, a musical impresario. I want to thank you as well for sharing your thoughts with us, Gboyega, Adelaja and Tony Amadi. Well, that's it for this edition of The Arise Interview. Join us again for a fresh edition tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.